Good afternoon. I'm Dwayne Cook. I'm board chairman of Farmers Wind Co-op. I've been on the board for about 8 years or so, and I'm happy to be here and present you some information.
I'm Trent Sprecher. I'm general manager with Farmers Wind Co-op. I've been at the Farmers Wind here for 4 years. I look forward to presenting this information to you.
I'm Ken Smith, the GM at Five Star Cooperative, and in April it'll be 5 years, and those 5 years come by pretty quickly.
Good afternoon, I'm Tom Shoddick, and welcome to part 2 of our virtual hometown meetings. Thank you for tuning in to learn more about the proposed merger with Five Star and Farmers Wind. I've been on the board for 12 years. I look forward to explaining the board's thoughts regarding the merger and answering your questions.
Why Farmers Wind 5 Star now? We've got 5 bullet points: a merger of equals, more strategic investments, influence our own future, standing up to the competition, and opportunity is here today. As far as a merger of equals, we're similar sized companies. We both have strong balance sheets. We have similar amount of employees. And we feel like with the strengths of both companies, those synergies will make us better for the future to serve our members. We've also got financial synergies we identified, and I think some of the other board members will be talking about those a little later, but we feel like putting 2 companies together will help us be stronger financially. More strategic investments across all departments, the rolling stock or the construction of new projects. Be able to make better decisions and avoid wasteful duplicate spending in the future. Influence our own future. By combining, we have a larger balance sheet to allow us to do projects that alone we are not able to do. And we'll be able to grow faster for the future for the benefit of our members. Standing up to the competition. We'll talk about this a little bit more later, but as far as the competition, we know for an example, Nutrien has 1,000 locations across the globe. It's a Wall Street company that we're competing with. They buy on a huge scale. This is a way for us to be more competitive in the future for our members. We need to be able to compete in the future. The other thing is the opportunity is here today. We need to take advantage of these opportunities when they present themselves. Both the board of directors and the management staff and employees all endorse this is a good idea for the future for our members.
Thanks, Trent. I'm going to talk about the opportunities in merging. Those opportunities, for those that can see it, we've got those listed, but I'm going to go through them again. Maintain local control, attract and retain the best employees, strengthen member service, and we believe that we are stronger together. Talking about maintaining local control, the cooperative model provides you a strong voice, and that's true today, and we think that's true in the future. Trent mentioned, Nutrien. I happen to drive by a Nutrien location on my way into work. And when I think about individuals that are doing business there and their ability to have any influence on that organization, I would argue that's very little. Our board of directors, our management team thinks the local control piece is fairly significant. You have influence on the decisions that are made. You have influence on the assets that are built. The cooperative model is very important to us, and we think it gives you a voice that many other forms of competition does not. And this merger continues to put you in that position. One of the things that's also important to us is attracting the right team. Our people are our most important asset. Our people make a difference. We really believe that this merger puts us in a stronger position to pay the right wages, the right benefits, also the opportunities that our people are going to have. So, this attracting and retaining the best people puts us in a position to serve our member efficiently and effectively. And we'll talk about it in a little bit more detail later. We also think this merger strengthens our member service. When I think about many operations and how they're growing, the speed and space needs, the technology needs. This merger gives us an opportunity to help deliver those assets, deliver the people that can, leverage that expertise. And so that strengthening member service comes to us in a more meaningful way with this merger opportunity that we're going to talk about. At the end of the day, our board of directors, our management team, our employee team believes we are stronger together. We have had the opportunity to spend some significant time together to look at those opportunities, and we think they're meaningful to our membership. So we're going to talk about those a bit today, but we truly believe we are stronger together.
So how does the financial performance look between the two companies? Financially, this is also a merger of equals. Both co-ops have strong balance sheets, and as you can see from the charts, they have similar values in gross margin, plant, property, equipment, EBITDA, and member equity. We both have strong earnings and are merging because we want to, not because we need to.
Our boards have spent probably nearly a year and a half comparing the balance sheets and financials of each other. CoBank, we both use CoBank as our bank, and they, along with others, use a tool like EBITDA to compare you and to see what how strong you are financially. And as you can see with the chart, both of us are very, very equal. Member equity is also a big deal to a cooperative system, and you can see that's being done at the same pace also.
One of the items we hear from some of our members is, are we limiting competition? For those that can see the video, we've put a map up of where 5-star locations are, where farmers win. In regards to grain competition, those dots represent physical assets. Our marketplace has a very dense concentration of competition. We believe that this merger will not limit competition in a material way. The other thing that the map doesn't show is the online presence or the increase in competition we're seeing with individuals that want to develop relationships. Some of those are ingrained by a competitor like Indigo. It certainly is, Trent will talk about here in a minute as we think about our agronomy competition. It does not include the FBNs, the AgMens that are also trying to develop, relationships on their online portals.
Likewise, on the agronomy side, as far as competition, we show here the competitors in our geography. This would not include any farmer seed dealers or chemical dealers. So you can see there's significant competition in this geography. The thing about it is we feel like with this, by merging together, there's a small overlap between the two companies at this point in time. The rest of that is we don't compete with each other in most of that geography. What that allows us to do is be more competitive on our pricing for the future, because we have different markets we're looking at buying from, whether that's off of the river for Farmers Win, since we're to the east, and 5-star to the west has more rail access. So those are some things that we can look at for the future to be more competitive, to use our fertilizer storage, to use our liquid and dry fertilizer storage to a better degree, to get more turns through that. So that translates to better prices for our members, and also more being able to pay back patronage and deferred equity on a faster pace. If you look at the combined capacities, I talked a little bit about the fertilizer storage, but if you go through the combined capacities, we put the two companies together, grain storage of 41 million bushels of storage, liquid fertilizer storage, 72,000 ton, dry fertilizer storage, 69,000 ton, propane storage, 939,000 gallon, fuel storage, 967,000 gallon, and feed mill volumes capacity of 722,000 ton. If you look at the storage we have for, let's take for an example on fertilizer, we have more combined capacity to store fertilizer. Typically Farmers Win is more of a spring fertilizer company. And Five Star is more of a fall fertilizer company. So what we do, we're able to use those buildings at inventory. We're able to buy inventory better, able to store more product. What that does is translate into more competitive pricing for our members going forward.
Trent shows some pretty strong, storage capacities, volume capacities. What we represent here with the map is where our existing Five-Star locations, where existing farmers win. There are some natural opportunities that we see that our teams that see in this geography. Trent mentioned some of the complementary practices. There's also some complementary storage as we think about Five-Star. Perhaps it has a bit more liquid storage, dry fertilizer storage. We can utilize those assets in perhaps a more effective and efficient way. There's also routing and trucking efficiencies from this combined footprint. There are also some geography and sharing of equipment. So we're excited about the power that we have with this combination. We're excited about the opportunities, and we also are excited about some of the growth opportunities that we see in this geography.
What will the director representation look like for the new co-op board? There will be 12 board seats with 4 informal districts, with each director serving 3-year terms. Each seat will be up, each year, 1 seat in each district will be up for election.
We also believe that with this geographical map, that we can get great representation over the entire area, including the overlap area in the central. And so the board has chose to go with these districts, and they're informal, but we believe it's the right way to do it.
And just to chime in, there will be 6 from each co-op. Each existing co-op board will choose 6 from each board of directors to serve on that new board.
What's in it for me as a producer? The successes and synergies we found over this due diligence process is pricing. We feel like this will allow us to buy better. I've talked about it a little bit in some of the other slides, but if you look at the volume we put together, when we look at those capacities, the volume of soybean meal we would buy, for an example, the volume of fertilizer we would buy, the volume of grain we would sell, that all gives us more leverage to be able to be more competitive for the future for our members. And also just the chance to buy better, we think will really help us for the future, be more competitive. The other thing is on patronage. This combination allows us to pay patronage like we have in the past, and also continue to revolve equity, revolve the old equity in the same time frame we have in the past. We've always tried to keep our equity a short time frame. We will continue to do that. We've got some big years coming up for equity redemption. We feel like this merger will really help to keep our equity on pace so that you can get your old equity in timely fashion. People, the ability to hire the talent we need to compensate existing employees. We all know that the employees are very important to our members. We want to take care of them with competitive benefit packages and also competitive wages so we can keep those people and hire new people as needed, especially in the technology area, to serve our members for the future. And as far as projects, if we invest in the projects separately, it's harder for us to do, especially larger projects that benefit our members. By going together, CoBank, our combined bank that we both use, says by combining our balance sheets, we'll have a better ability to do larger projects and keep up with the expectations of our members for equipment and facilities.
Trent mentioned some of the successes and synergies. I'm going to talk a little bit about the risk that we see and just the vantage point that maybe from Trent and I see. Our cooperative costs on an annual basis go up somewhere between 2 and 4% a year. When you think about the magnitude of Farmers Win or Five Star, that this year, our operating budget's about $36 million. That 3% increase represents almost $1 million increase in cost. So, Trent and I are challenged with how do you find $1 million of additional income, what I would say in a flat or stagnant margin environment. And absolutely, Trent, we're going to find some growth. But when we think about opportunities, this merger opportunity, when the synergies that we've developed, and we're going to share those with you this summer in our in-person meetings. But this moves the needle in such a way that it keeps us in front of those cost lines in a very material way. But that's a real challenge that we face on a regular basis. So, we look out for these types of opportunities. One of the challenges that actually does keep me up at night when we think about our strong team, our dedicated team that is there to serve the member, we've got many people in the next 2 to 5 years that are at retirement age that will be leaving us. How do we keep a strong bench? How do we keep a strong team in position to serve our member? It is becoming increasingly more difficult to find those positions. And this combination gives us a significant bench strength that we don't have individually today. And some of those very skilled positions are very difficult to find. So in some cases, I'm not sure we have good options to replace them. So it keeps our service levels in a way that is important for us. You as a member are going to continue to grow. Your needs are going to continue to grow. And having a team, having a diverse team with a strong skill set is important to us. Those growing needs, you think about the assets, the cost of those assets. This combination puts us in a strong position to keep up with those growing needs, with whether it's assets, whether it's people, whether it's technology. Those are some of the risks that we face, and we think this merger puts us in a stronger position to meet the needs.
This summer, the members of both co-ops will be asked to vote for or against the merger. It'll take some time in July, timeframe to August. The threshold to approve the merger is high. 50% of the Class A members from each co-op need to vote, and of those votes cast, 2/3 need to vote in favor of to approve it. The bar is high, so please take the time to understand the why and why now, and then please exercise your right to vote.
And we want to put everyone's mind at ease. The voting process is a very secure process. We'll be sending out postage paid envelopes going to you. They'll be returned back to Gardner, who is our auditing firm for both of us currently. And so they're going to do the accounting and the certification of that. We ask that you do not give them to employees or drop them off at your local offices. We prefer that you send them directly to Gardner. So again, as Tom said, we really encourage you to use your right to vote and do that. Thank you.
We're going to shift to our question and answers, and thank you for the questions that you sent in advance. We received a lot of questions. We answered some in our morning session. We're going to answer a different set in our afternoon session. Laura is going to put these together, so in some future time you could review both sessions if you so choose. But thank you for your engagement. And we're going to tackle some of those questions.
Perfect. Dwayne, I'm going to start with you this time. Are the cooperatives both financially strong?
As we've spent the last time, as I said earlier, we spent a lot of time going over financials, and both co-ops, despite any rumors that might be out there, are both very strong financially and have continued to have growth over the last few years. And so, yeah, there's no question in my mind that we're there.
Perfect. So Tom, how will a new merged co-op keep the local feel while being so large?
Well, that's a really important issue or topic. Over the last year, there have been many discussions about this. And it takes a certain kind of culture to do this and then to commit to it. So keeping as many familiar faces around and continue to focus on service is one of those ways you can keep that local feel. Also, continuing to support the communities we serve in and the members reinforces the commitment to those areas. continue to go the extra mile and put in the extra effort for the members and the employees. The goal for the new co-op is to be large enough to serve, but small enough to care.
Great answer. Trent, are they going to buy enough equipment to cover all the members, or do you have enough already?
By merging together, the opportunity becomes to be more efficient and use our equipment better, get more gallons and tons through that equipment. We do have some overlap area where we'll definitely benefit by using machines more efficiently. And then also that'll allow us to have a better plan for using that equipment in the outlying areas. So we can get more tons and gallons through that equipment. And that's what helps us be more timely with our application, whether it's dry fertilizer or liquid. And also helps us keep the cost down as far as our application costs for our member.
Perfect. So speaking of equipment, Ken, are we going to have to spend a lot of money catching up the other co-op's equipment, or are we pretty apples to apples?
Yeah, good question, Laura. As Trent and I have traveled to all the locations, as we've talked about with people about equipment, hey, I'm very comfortable that both Five Star and Farmers Win have both assets, have rolling stock in very good order. So we really do not anticipate any significant spend to catch one or the other up. Both have invested fairly heavily in the rolling stock fleets, and we both feel very comfortable with where we're at today.
Awesome. So Dwayne, co-ops were formed to help make the farmers more profitable through competitiveness. How is this merger going to help the farmer become more profitable?
Well, kind of like your own farm, a lot of farmers are continuing to get bigger and bigger. And you're doing that for reasons of growing your income, growing your net worth, doing that. The co-op is looking at the same thing, and the employees have gotten together and have identified a substantial amount of money, like about $4.5 million that we might be able to save by merging through a lot of different avenues that we want to share with you. And by doing that, that's going to help us continue to grow and be successful as a co-op in Northeast Iowa.
Awesome. So Tom, what's the difference in debt between the two companies?
The long-term debt carried by both co-ops is very similar and manageable. Debt levels and repayment of these loans will remain a priority for the new company because we both understand the importance of keeping our expenses in line with what we can repay.
Nice. So Trent, do you plan on increasing technical employees?
Yes, we would increase technical employees. We do have really one technical agronomist in each company at this point in time. So we only have two. This has been nice. These two can kind of bounce things off each other. No, they're not on an island by themselves. But that's a growing area. And those, I know the employee on the Farmers Win side, he's pretty well taxed and pretty well, we're using him to the maximum. He needs some additional help, so we will look to grow that area, try to grow our technical expertise for the member.
Awesome. So Dwayne, how big is big enough?
Well, that's a good question. I get asked that question a lot. And, when you start looking at, and I thought about it a lot, how big is big enough? When you look at other businesses like your seed corn companies, your chemical companies, your basic stores, they're continually getting bigger, going together, and doing that for a reason. And that is that buying power and things like that. Take, for instance, Amazon. I mean, Amazon is just awesome that's happening. So everyone says, no one seems to really complain about that, but you get a few complaints like, well, you're getting too big, you're getting too big. But what is too big? I gotta be honest with you, I can't answer what is too big, but the way that we've identified the things that we can do to make things better, I don't think we're anywhere close to being too big. Remember back a few years, the co-op wasn't this big either, and it has continued to grow over time. So I think as times change, you're gonna always see something get bigger and bigger.
Awesome. So
Along the same lines, you don't want to wait till you're too small. at some point, and then you can't do anything about it. We're trying to be proactive to get ahead of that curve, and make sure we're at the right size for our members.
Awesome. So Tom, I'd like to know why this has taken so long.
Good question. I think a lot of people, there's more than COVID to this, but that's a big driver of why this has taken so long. But the good news is neither of us are or have been in a position that we need to do something right away. It just didn't make sense to rush it with the COVID situation going on. And actually, this has been more of a blessing as it has given us the opportunity to do the due diligence necessary and get to know each other better. The employees have been able to work together to some degree and are working together almost daily to get that accomplished. So that's been a blessing. We realize the importance of in-person meetings to explain this merger and felt that doing these in July was a better option than trying to rush and do something sooner than that.
Awesome. So Trent, could you explain about buying powers going forward in fertilizer, grain, chemicals?
So we know from experience that if you can do a bigger volume, you can buy better, especially on the fertilizer and chemical side. And so we can leverage those volumes and also seed, leverage those volumes to get a better price for our members is what we're trying to do. Also on the feed side, by putting our combination of our feed together, we can, like buying soybean meal together, we have a lot bigger volume. And also by putting the bigger geography for putting the two companies together, we have an opportunity to buy from different markets, whether that's off the river, whether that's over by Mason City on the UP line, whether it's down in Waterloo, whether it's up in Minnesota. We've got opportunities and options. We can buy product better throughout our geography for the members.
Great. So kind of along those lines, Dwayne, how will this help me?
Well, it's going to help me because I'm a producer like everyone. That's probably most people that are watching this and most people that we're doing this for. Our patrons have elected me and the other board to serve them. And so our job is to look ahead and see what benefits we can have of doing something like this. I'm going to continue to grow, or I hope that I can continue to grow. So I want my facility that I'm closest to be able to handle the needs that I have, the services that I need, dumping grain, fertilizer, spreading, those kinds of things. That's where I believe that the assets that we can pull together are going to help me along with everyone else.
So Ken, does this merger add any rail for shipping grain?
You know, certainly some of the 5-star sites have the ability to ship, out by train. We don't have shuttle motors though, and when you look at the single car rates have not really been effective to ship large quantities out. So yes, it does increase our ability. From a practical, sense, that has not happened in the last several years.
All right. So Tom, what benefits will the outlying locations receive?
I still want to comment on one of the comments Trent made this morning that I really liked. It says, a rising tide raises all ships. So that being said, all locations throughout the whole company benefit from a stronger mothership and will be helped through this merger. The increased buying power and selling power of the new co-op will be felt across the whole trade territory. The combined balance sheet will allow more opportunities to expand member services, build and repair assets, pay off equity in a timely manner, and continue to hire quality employees with competitive wages. Whether the co-op is big or small, the members still own it and have a say in how it is ran with local control.
Great. So Ken, kind of along those lines, there's a concern around third-party truckers and the workload that will be available to them when these two cooperatives come together.
That's great, Lauren. Today we had a board meeting and we looked at our split. 5-star does have a significant amount of company-owned trucks that we haul grain with, but it was interesting If you look at that split today, Tom, I'm trying to think of the exact number, but more than 40% of the grain hauled was by third-party truckers. With our facilities, with our quantities, we want to hire and need to hire third parties, and that won't stop. As you think about some of the retirements we may have in some of our grain trucking, we're going to continue to need, and we think this merger actually for our third parties may have some enhancements. When we think about moving beans to the river, where some of Farmers Wind's sites are located at, and sometimes it's vice versa. You're looking for loads in a certain area. Having a larger geography, having more options, having more destinations is going to help our third-party fleet. We have great relationships. Many of those are producers themselves, but we think, hey, we want to continue to use third parties, and we really think those third-party truckers may find some additional benefit from this merger.
Great. So Trent, I was wondering in which ways the members are going to save money by this merger.
When we looked at what Dwayne talks about, the $4.5 million in synergies, that's just dollars saved that we found. So by doing that, we looked at just how can we be more efficient? Logistically with our truck fleet, how can we limit the amount of miles we deadhead? How can we use backhauls to be efficient? How can we eliminate costs that we don't need? Both companies have the same amount of cost to a certain extent. How do we eliminate those costs? And by doing it, by combining, we eliminate a lot of the duplicate costs we have. That will save money for the members because we're not getting any more margin on our products. Every year, our margins continue to get smaller and smaller. We have to sell more and more product to pay for the continued expense we have. And Ken talked about $1 million a year in continued expenses. That's for both companies. So how do we overcome that? So by the way we do that is we become more efficient by merging. We take costs out of the system and we pass that on with competitive products and and that benefits our members.
Great. Ken, kind of along the lines of what Trent was speaking to, what effect will this merger have regarding local site management and personnel?
Yeah, absolutely. Our overriding directive is how do we serve the member effectively and efficiently? And sometimes you look at Farmers Win and Five Star, there's some similarities and there's some differences. Some of that has to do with what existing people do you have in place. But without question, if we've got a model that's working well, Trent and I have talked about this, and we've talked about it with boards with Tom and Dwayne, we don't want to change that. So if we got something that's working well, if we have something that needs improvement or enhancement, yeah, we're going to take a look at it. But we really think that hybrid model is likely going to, survive. We think we've got some very strong people in place, and we're not going to disrupt that.
Perfect. So Dwayne, could you touch on spreading capital expenditures around this much territory, please?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to use an example of our past mergers. In fact, with Farmers Win, the board gets together. We get together every month, but we specifically spend time on certain meetings deciding where we're going to spend, where we're going to build, what are the needs of the territory. And we've been blessed with great boards. And when the guys are there, guys and gals are there, they're looking out for the company as a rule and not their own hometown or anything like that. And so the past history has been, you put the assets and you do the things that need to be done that benefit the most producers at the right time. And over time, everyone benefits from that. And it happens all over. So I think it's no problem.
Great. So Trent, is this merger going to be like the last one, buying out and spending all the money there rather than here?
I think if you look at it, if we combine these companies, we have a stronger balance sheet that allows us to do more projects. So I would argue that it'll allow us to do more across our trade territory. And as we have a stronger balance sheet, it also allows us to do more projects, to be more profitable, and that helps us to do more projects across the territory and add equipment that's needed. So I would say this would be a positive move.
So Ken, will competition be limited if this passes?
Laura, we do not think it will be. We think that, as we've said, if we're effective and efficient with our resources, if we can combine our leverage, we are a cooperative model. In that model, when we do well, we pay the member, we pay our team, we buy the right assets. So we do not think that this, we've showed you our competition maps, and I'll tell you from my seat, our competition will continue to grow. The transparency of what's happening in the marketplace with, with your different online, we are not going to limit competition.
Great. So Tom, tell me about equity in the planned revolvement for the new cooperative.
Well, both boards understand how important equity and involvement are to the members. So just to be clear, all the equity from both co-ops will be merged into the new co-op and put on a 10-year revolvement. The goal of the new co-op board is to stay on that schedule going forward and return those dividends to the members in a timely fashion.
Great. So Trent, this is a long one. Can you provide specific details financially on why this is a good idea? Insurance savings, trucking savings, fertilizer and chemical savings, and how does it affect the members' pocketbooks?
I'd say I've talked a little bit, or I've talked at length about the fertilizer and chemical savings, but I will talk about the other two, the insurance savings and trucking savings. I can tell you from experience, the last merger we did as Farmers Win, we put our liability, casualty and liability insurance package together after the merger, saved us $300,000 on the annual premium. So that's real money, and that's just as a result of putting the two companies together. It will be the same scenario when we put these two companies together. We'll have big savings in the insurance side, is it just an example. Also on the trucking side, if you look at what it costs to drive, and a lot of you know this, what it costs to drive a truck up and down the road is expensive. So by doing this together, we're going to limit the amount of dead, empty loads we haul up and down the road. We're not bouncing up and down the road with our empty trucks. And also just coordinating better and looking at the efficiencies and the routes. The routing is so important, and right now we're kind of probably a shotgun approach a little bit. We'll do a lot better job in this. By combining these two companies, it allows us to do a better job of routing our trucks. There's huge savings to be looked at in all departments along that line.
Awesome. So Dwayne, who will the general manager be?
Well, the boards have gotten together and realized that we have two good guys. We have chose as both boards that we will interview both managers after our vote and come up with a good candidate. And we chose to do that for a lot of different reasons, but that was our board's decision.
Awesome. So Tom, what are the differences between each co-op?
We both have a lot of common strengths, but there are just some subtle differences that make us each a little unique. Farmers Win does a little more anhydrous, 5-Star does a little more 32. Farmers Win does a little more cattle feed, 5-Star does more hogs. Farmers Win sells a lot of beans to the river. 5-Star sells a lot of beans to AGP. Farmers Win has more location managers. 5-Star has a more regionalized approach, primarily in the West. Farmers Win has a strong cash and carry chemical presence, and 5-Star has the Next Star product line. These differences are subtle, but they all complement each other very well without a lot of overlap. There's a lot of growth in those areas because they are a little different from each other.
Great. So Trent, Win is big enough. Consolidation seems to save the co-op money, but it doesn't necessarily equate to better service.
So when we look at putting these companies together, on the grand scheme of things, it's about a $600 million company. And if you look at the comparable co-ops, even in Iowa, that's mid-sized probably, I would say. A lot of co-ops are 2 to 3 times that size. It does give us a lot more buying power. Is that big enough? We don't know that answer. Down in the future, we don't know what the future holds, but we know that this does give us more buying power to be more competitive for the future for our membership.
Perfect. So Ken, how is this merger going to help me ensure that we will not be paying more for products because less competition due to the merger?
Yeah, that's a good question, Laura. The market is the marketplace, and this cooperative model that I talked about, this is going to give us leverage. And when we get that opportunity to buy more effectively or more efficiently, we pass that back on to our member. Now, it's important to us as we help manage the cooperative or run the cooperative that we are doing it as efficiently and as effectively. But we can't guarantee where prices are. Different competitors have different models. Some actually are in the manufacturing, so their value chain is different than ours. But we can tell you that this merger puts us in a stronger position to have competitive prices.
Awesome. So Dwayne, will this allow the combined company to compete for the long term, or is another merge likely in a few years?
Well, look at the history of your co-ops. On both Farmers Win and Five Star, neither one of them have sat stagnant for forever. And if you do, usually you fall apart. So I can't answer if there's a merger on the horizon or anything like that, because I gotta be honest, I can't answer that. But know that growing is a part of business. It's been a part of all of your businesses, and so this is just one stepping stone here. That if you members choose to vote for this, will take us to another level.
Awesome. So this is a question for the two general managers. Why do you think a member should vote for this?
Let me start with that, Laura. Trent and I have been to nearly all of our locations talking with employees. I've gotten to know the Farmers Win team just a bit, but I can tell you my impression of both Five Star and Farmers Win. We have employees that deeply care about the success of our member. This merger puts our employee in a better position. I believe it puts our member in a better position. We talked about how do we repay patronage, how do we build the right assets. So I'm excited about it. It enables our employee to serve the member in a meaningful way, and it really does affect the member. So you talk about what's in it for me. Those service levels, those assets, that stronger growing company. And Dwayne mentioned this, a growing cooperative is important. We are in agriculture. We know how important it is to continue to grow our operation. This merger gives us an opportunity like no other opportunity that we see today. It's not that something else can't come up, but this is important. Our employee team wants to win. And when you have that growing cooperative, I think members are more satisfied, and there's more opportunities that spring out from that. So I'm excited about it. Hey, we still have to execute. Wayne and Tom, we mentioned some of the synergies. We have to make sure those happen. But I'll tell you, our employee team, our board of directors is committed to making it happen. And really, that's a lot of the battle. If we want to make it happen, we will win, and our member will benefit from that.
Perfect. And one last one for the board presidents. What is the risk in not doing this?
Well, the co-op system in general has a strong history of keeping pace with the farmers they serve. As these farms change over time and evolve, the co-op needs to evolve with them. That's just what co-ops do. The opportunity to have a merger of equals is really hard to find, and it may not be around in the future. The expenses continue to go up, and it's hard to have enough internal growth to offset these expenses. And lastly, other entities are moving into the area that threaten co-op culture and the business that has served the farmers well for over 100 years. We just want to continue that tradition and continue to serve the members in a meaningful way.
Dwayne?
And I'd add to that with an example of a merger that we had to the north of Farmers Win, up in Rushford, Houston, Caledonia area. We currently have 3 board members from that area that came with that merger. And they really enlightened me on, and I seen it years ago with the Hawkeye Co-op also, but it really enlightened me lately that that if you're not willing to change and to be ahead of the curve, you become stagnant. And then all of a sudden, you do completely lose your identity for lack of better words there. But also, you look at the fact that you want to control your own destiny. And by merging these 2 co-ops, I believe we have a better control of our destiny for the future. We know things are going to change. You look, like Tom just said, co-ops have been around for over 100 years. And Farmers Co-op Elevator in Rushford was around for over 100 years. And by not being, by maybe not taking on some challenges, it changed their course of direction. We think it was for the better. They believe it's for the better. So that's just a past merger that's worked out really well. I also think that it's no different than your own operations, that you're wanting to grow and you need to continue to grow. And by growing, you're just doing more. It's better for you. Of course, if you're retiring, maybe you're looking at wanting to get out. But in order to retire, you've had to have grown to get to a point where you can retire. And so it's just a different level possibly, but life is a different level. And so today is really no different than it was, just maybe different numbers. So I think it's the right thing to do.
Great. And that's all I have for questions for today. We'll go to any closing thoughts.
I'd like to add that I really appreciate the time that our members, guests, whoever might be watching us, which we can't see yet, but appreciate the time that you took this afternoon to listen to us, not plead our case, but to realize that the boards have spent a lot of time. If we didn't believe that this was the right thing to do, we wouldn't be here presenting it to you. So if you feel like this has been rehearsed or not, most of it's coming deep from the heart. We're just not public speakers necessarily, but we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't believe this was the right thing to do. And so we appreciate you getting out to vote, coming to our summer meetings, getting out to vote, and letting us know how you feel. Thank you.
Yeah, I reiterate what Dwayne just said. A lot of us spend time in the boardroom. It's not a flashy job, but we feel it's an important job representing you, the member. And we only come to you with things that we feel are important. And we want to make sure you're informed on these decisions that you're going to vote on. So please take the time to either look online at some of the things that will be online, watch your mail for mailings. And we don't want to inundate you with things like that. We just want to make sure you're getting the right information to make an educated vote. And please remember to participate in the summer meetings. There will be a lot more detail come out in those meetings. We'll explain the numbers, the savings numbers in more detail. And I think that'll all make even more sense to you as you hear the detail behind those numbers. So thank you for listening and look forward to seeing you this summer or prior to that. Thank you.